Congressman, thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
We watched the hearing that you chaired with the Attorney General, Eric Holder, and one of the issues that you brought up very forcefully was the issue of racial profiling. Madam, that's something that not only affects people here in this country, but also people around the world, especially the travelers to this country. What do you think of this issue, and what is it that you like to add that you told the Attorney General?
First of all, the world is living in a different time. Pakistan, countries in Africa, Europe, and the United States, all facing a new era. Individuals or groups who want to do harm to innocent persons. And certainly here in the United States, although we know that there are countries who face terror for a very long time, 9/11 symbolizes a major change in the needs of the American people to secure the homeland. At the same time, our country is known for its respect for civil liberties and civil rights. And I maintain, as a member of the Homeland Security Committee and the Judiciary Committee, that those two entities are not incompatible with protecting the homeland. In this instance, I think it is extremely important that our friends around the world, our allies around the world, and even our enemies know that we will not be terrorized by terror. We will not begin to put in place rules that would stigmatize people basically on the grounds of the color of their skin or their place of origin. And so I pointedly asked the question, and I think the administration has been very clear. I think the Attorney General was very clear that the question of racial profiling is not an acceptable tactic. Clearly, we have to have human intelligence. I support that. That means to know behavioral ways of addressing the question. But clearly, to target someone just because they are from a certain area, we do not want to do. And that means whether or not they're from Pakistan, whether or not they're from Mideast countries, whether or not they're from South and Central American countries, whether or not they're from Canada. No matter where it is, we have to be focused on the war on terror. Now, saying that, we need our allies to work with us and to make sure that we are united, that those who would misuse religion or any other reason to do harm to innocent persons is not acceptable by any standards, by any part of the world's family.
Councilman, the full body scanning at the airports, at the points of entry here in this country, been a big issue outside this country as well, especially in Pakistan. Pakistani government, people of Pakistan, they've been very, very vocal about it. It was taken back, the decision was taken back as far as the Pakistanis were concerned, but there's still a talk of bringing this back on for the Pakistanis, especially in the wake of this failed bombing in New York. What do you think of this system? Is there anything else that can be done at the same time as an alternative, accomplishing the same goal?
Well, we're willing to listen to all the concerns of our allies. We wouldn't be part of this large world community if we were not sensitive to the needs of our friends, and of course, that we did not engage internationally on aviation security and other aspects of security. But what I would say is that this is not targeted to any one group. This is new technology that I would imagine that any country has the ability to choose. And we in the United States want to give this particular form of technology an opportunity to be assessed. This is not targeted to foreign travelers. It may actually be utilized in American airports, and that means that Americans will be subject to do it. What we have to ensure is that everyone's privacy and personal rights are respected. That is a demand that I believe many of us in the United States Congress will require. There'll be vigorous oversight, and we just welcome critiques or criticism in order to make this world a safer place for all of us, and certainly for all of the law-abiding citizens from all countries. We welcome our visitors here to the United States, and we want to ensure that visitors feel welcomed, but at the same time, we have the responsibility to secure the homeland.
You recently came back from Pakistan. You met a lot of important people in the establishment, I think also some army generals and the important politicians. Probably you also had a meeting with the president. My question is, what was your feeling while you were in Pakistan? Do you see the commitment that's been demanded by the U.S. government so often? And recently, even the Secretary of State made a very, very harsh statement after, again, this failed bombing, that Pakistan would face severe, very severe consequences in case something like this happens again. So do you see a gap in perceptions, or are you convinced that the Pakistanis are fully committed to what they're saying they're committed to, or you see some difference?
Well, one thing I know is that the United States government, I believe the administration, is committed to the continued friendship with Pakistan and the Pakistani people. Governments to government sometimes have to speak clearly, articulately, and straight talk. And when a country has been put in jeopardy, the officials believe straight talk is the most important talk. My visit showed, of course, through the leadership that I was able to meet with, from the Prime Minister to the President to a number of other officials, which I appreciated very much. There is, I believe, a sense of openness and commitment to knowing that it is important for the Pakistani government and the military and all the forces that deal with those who terrorize and perpetrate terrorist acts against the people of Pakistan should be brought to justice, and that this should be an international effort, and that this is not pointed in one direction. But yes, this particular individual that was involved in the Times Square alleged attempted bombing, and by chance it did not work, has been tracked back to Pakistan and the Taliban in Pakistan. Clearly, we need to know how forceful the government intends to address that question. We know that there are many cultural differences and many interpretations that the Pakistan government and leadership has to address. But I think it's important that friends be allowed to speak firmly and strongly to each other, but it does not breach the friendship. I don't think it should breach the friendship. There are many strong allies of Pakistan in the United States Congress, and many of us recognize and have seen the hard work of Pakistani forces working, for example, in the Swat Valley and on the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. But if we have to challenge each other to do a better job, there's nothing wrong with that. It should be noted that I believe that there is no condemnation, broad condemnation, by the American people of the people of Pakistan. In fact, we want better relationships. That's why we have strong membership and interest in the U.S.-Pakistan Congressional Caucus that is in the United States Congress, formulated in 2004. They should know that. But we should continue our dialogue. We should be honest with each other. Where work needs to be done, we should say it, and then we should be able to continue our alliances and discussing on many different issues. Let me say this. As I visited Pakistan and saw some of the educational facilities, some of the schools that were taught by imams who were teaching not only reading, writing, and arithmetic, but character and integrity, and showed how they distinguished themselves from what one might think of when you think of these schools. That was a good thing. And as I listened, I saw the need for building a major general hospital. And I encouraged USAID to work with people in Pakistan to look at creative ways to use the new funding that will be coming forward as we work to establish real friendship with the people of Pakistan. I hope they view that as part of the relationship with the United States of America.